Hello everybody, Rusty Ground here, and I just finished XCOM Chimera Squad, so I thought I'd make a short video about my thoughts about the game now that I've gone through the story. So XCOM Chimera Squad happens 5 years after the end of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. You get to control a squad of 4 agents that are sent into City 31, the first city that hosts humans, aliens, and hybrids, and you act like a SWAT team that gets to prevent crime in the city. Now, there are a few things that are different in Chimera Squad than the other XCOM games. The first thing is, during combat, you have a breach phase. So whenever you start a mission, you get to choose what breach point you want your team to take. And during the breach phase, you basically have some advantages or disadvantages on whether to take a certain point or a different point, and you also get to choose the order in which your agents go into the mission. So that's a new thing that adds a new layer to the combat system. Another difference from your normal XCOM game is the turn-based combat is a little bit different in Chimera Squad. In XCOM 2, the turn-based was that basically you took all your actions with your team and then the enemy took their actions. In Chimera Squad, each character gets their own turn, and you have basically a turn order on the right hand side of your screen that shows you what character goes when. So that way, let's say, you can have one of your guys go first and then 2 enemies go after him, and then on the fourth place you have another one of your guys, and so on and so forth. You see the turn order and you can assess the situation and plan accordingly. So that's in my opinion, a pretty big difference from the normal XCOM game. Now, I think this mechanic fits very well with Chimera Squad because the missions or the locations of the missions in Chimera Squad are way smaller than the ones in XCOM 2, so it fits pretty well, and it makes the combat a little bit more interesting, let's say. Now, there are still some minuses with the game, in my opinion. I have encountered a series of bugs that were also present in XCOM 2. So in my opinion, I believe the game runs on the same engine, so you will see kind of the same type of bugs that you see in XCOM 2 if you've played an XCOM 2 game before. So you have your visual bugs, where people, let's say, I don't know, if they try to jump over an element on the map, they remain at that same level and stuff like that. And there are also very few mechanical bugs. I don't know how to call them, but there are some mechanical bugs. Let's say, for example, you poison a character, but the poison doesn't register for some reason, even though the game shows you that it should register. So those types of things. But they're not too annoying, but they are present. Other than that, I think Chimera Squad is a pretty good game. Short story, or a shorter story than a normal XCOM game. You're looking at about 20 to 25 hours of gameplay for a campaign. Now, another element that is different from an XCOM game is the fact that you don't get to create your own characters. In XCOM Chimera Squad, you have a set of predefined characters, each with their own class, each with their own talent tree, and throughout the game you get to recruit these characters. So when you start the game, if you go through the tutorial, you are given 4 characters, 4 default characters, and I believe they're the same characters every time you start the game with the tutorial. If you don't do the tutorial, you get to choose your characters, the characters that you want to start, and as you progress through the game, you get to recruit other characters. Now, I think there's a total of 11 different characters in the game, pre-made characters, but I don't think you can see them in one playthrough. So personally, I did 2 playthroughs at the same time because I wanted to stream one and I wanted to play another one offline, let's say, because I wanted to see all the characters. And by the end of both my playthroughs, I did not get to recruit all the characters, right? So this is where the replayability factor comes in place. So you're looking at 20 to 25 hours of gameplay for one of your campaigns, but if you want to explore all the characters, you might be looking at double that, you know. The price of the game, I believe, is 20 euros on Steam. Now, when I got the game, there was a sale and they had it for 50% off. So I thought that price was amazing. So, you know, if you're into this type of game, and if you don't want to pay 20 bucks or 20 euros for this type of game, you can wait until a sale comes out and get it for cheaper then. But I still think that the value for the money that you pay is pretty good for the game, because like I said, overall it's a fun game. It's a, you know, typical XCOM where you get to miss your 95% shots and you get to do your 25-30% shots from time to time, not always. The story continues the main story from XCOM 2, so you know there is a continuation there, and that's always good to have. And you also get to experience and experiment with some new combat mechanics. The enemies are also quite familiar, but they've also added a few variations to the enemies that you would know from the XCOM 2 game. Right, so yeah, overall I think XCOM Chimera Squad is a pretty cool game. I would recommend it, especially for people who have played XCOM before. You know, like I said, it's not as big, or the campaign is not as long as the XCOM 2 normal campaign, but it's pretty fun, and the characters are quite interesting. So yeah, those are my thoughts about the game. You can check out my playthrough. I'll put a link in the description of the video. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.